All right, welcome back, guys. So, thanks for tuning in again. It's been a while since I uploaded a video on my YouTube channel. I've been busy with the baby. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of diaper changes and bottle feeding. So, you guys know how that is. Yeah, so I want to do something a little bit different today. It is January. We're in Georgia. The temperature dropped to 17 degrees at night. This cold front. It's cold, fishing sucks. So yeah, decided to do a little bit of a tutorial, then a outing on Lake Lanier. So this is going to be an in-depth video on how to clean, oil, grease on your casting reel. Mainly on Shimano. I'm going to be using a Shimano Metanium MGL. This is the older version, but overall Shimano's reel design on the internal components has been the same, so I haven't seen them make any significant differences other than manufacturing tolerances. So we'll be using this reel as an example, and then kind of run it through with you guys and breaking it apart on the internal components, the drag washer, the bearings, the pinions, everything, right? And then cleaning it with Arden Reel Cleaner. So cleaning all the grease gum from last year and re-greasing and re-oiling everything in preparation of the 2024 season. Real quick, just gonna run down with some of the stuff that we need in terms of breaking down the reel. Alright, so here we have the old version of the Shimano Metanium. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take off the side plate. Alright, so side plate's off. I am going to remove the spool. Alright, so leave it there, leave it later. Alright, so going into your reel handle. So it's actually a little bit awkward because I have a GoPro in front of my face and it's hard to see all the parts. So, alright, so you're going to use your Phillips head screwdriver, take off the first screw in the assembly. Alright, so what you want to do, you got this plastic piece here that you can now remove after taking off the Phillips head screw. So what I like to do, I like to lay them out in order. That way when I put them back, it's in reverse order. Okay, alright, so the plastic cover, it's off. The next thing I need, it's the 10mm nut. So I like to get some saran wrap, cover it, and then it's metal to metal, so that way it doesn't scratch up the reel. That's loose. Alright, handle. Alright, now you have your star washer or star drag, and then you have a spring right underneath it. Actually, there is a washer underneath the star drag. Let me just open it, see if I can get it out. You see that cover? Yes, another stack in there. Just kidding. I'll get it out later when doing the cleaning. And then you have a square nut. It loosens up in reverse because your handle is turning one way. This is to just kind of poke you up the system. Alright, so and then you have a double-sided washer. Okay. You have two metal bevel washers. So make sure that's there. You have to put it in a very special orientation, flipping one side so that way when we put it back on, I'll discuss that a little bit more. You have a very thin washer right here. Let's just take that off too. Alright, well, that's basically how to take off your handle on a casting reel. Alright, next I am going to remove the tension knob. So the tension knob, actually it's screwed in with a piece of carbon drag, kind of like a washer and a spacer in the bottom side of it, so it actually engages with the spool pin like that, and then hold it in. So as you're tightening it, it's compressing, and the spool actually spins slower, and that's why when you tighten the spool tension knob, it compresses and really locking down your spool tension. Alright, so that's done. So that is your first bearing, okay? And then inside there is a spring washer that holds the bearing in there. Okay? Alright, let's continue taking it apart. Okay, so you're gonna have a couple of screws for Shimano. I believe it's only 3 that's holding the entire side plate. So it's gonna be 1, 2, and 3. All right, so let's remove that and set them aside. And depending on what reel you have, the length and the head type of the screw, it might be different. This is where sometimes if you have a precision screwdriver, it's going to be better because you can kind of tell this screw here, it's a little bit small. So, you know, it would be nice to have a precision screwdriver instead of the standard, you know, Phillips head number 2 to loosen up these screws. Alright, and you can kind of tell that the head type is different. Alright, so alright, one more. And you do not want to strip the head of any screws for these casting reels or spinning reels. It's going to be a pain in the ass to take off, you know, the next time. So just to show, these are somewhat different. All right, so make sure you put it back in the right place. Again, I've done this so many times that, you know, hey, it's okay. Kind of know what's coming and what to look for. Okay, all right, so now the side plate is off and we are ready to roll. So on the side plate, it's kind of dark in here. So on the side plate, there's your, remember, there's your tension knob bearing. Okay, it's pressed in there. You have a spacer. You have another bearing. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna leave this over here. Okay, well, still looks pretty greased up. Looks pretty nice from last year. All right. So you're gonna have 2 spring coming off of the reel. All right. And I apologize that I don't know all of the technical names of these parts, but you can kind of follow through with how I clean them and how I put it back, so that way it's easy for you and you can kind of follow along. Okay, you have your first gear. I think this is called the pinion gear, and then your plastic pinion holder. First major stack. All right, oops, my bad. Major stack of the gear. All right, so let me see. So this is your carbon drag washer, It's on the top side and on the bottom side. And a lot of times if you tighten the drag up too much, you might see wear on the track washer, and sometimes you know, if you do see wear, I would suggest you going online and getting a replacement. They're fairly cheap to replace. Okay, all right, so we are pretty much down to you know, the bare bone of the reel. So from here on out, it's actually gonna be a little bit more finesse. So let me take a look. Alright, so we're gonna take off this main shaft that is going to drive your worm gear. I guess some people say, why are you using a flat? Little screw, but you know, these screws are extremely small, extremely small. So let me sure I don't strip the head. You know, every year I order a precision screwdriver head just to do the cleaning because I lose a set every year. I don't remember where I put them, so I've got another set coming. Alright, so that's off. There's a bearing. I don't take apart this assembly, so I leave it as is. Okay, alright, you're thinking, well, what's next? Well, now we're going to be taking off the cover for the worm gear, and then we're going to be removing the worm gear and this assembly here. So we're going to break it all apart, and this is as much as I break it. A lot of times I can also remove this support here for the springs and the pinion, but a lot of times I look at this and still kind of consider that, hey, this reel is still pretty clean after a year of fishing in the dirt, grime, and muddy waters. So if you do feel that you need to take it off, it's very simple. Well, I should say it's very simple for the Shimano reels, but challenging for the Daiwa reels, at least for me, from my memory last year. Because last year was the first time that I took apart a Daiwa reel with the T-Wing system, and man, it took a little bit longer for me to put it back. Let's take a look. And, well, actually, I'll be right back. I need a tool. Alright, I am back. There is one tool that is critical to taking apart the worm gear, but we'll get to it. So I'll show you guys in a minute. Let me just finish taking off the cover real quick. So there's one screw holding it. And then I'm gonna put it over here. Oh, alright, removed. Okay, we're almost there. So the next critical tool in order for us to remove this worm gear, it's a pointed end tweezer. I know, your wife might have one. I doubt any of you guys who fishes will have one. In order for you to take the worm gear off, there are two C-clips holding on each end of the reel. What you want to do is snug it behind the C-clip and pry it out. This is probably the most challenging part of the reel disassembly. And make sure the C-clip don't fly off. Well guys, just got back from looking for this tiny little guy. So this is the C-clip. So what happened was I pushed it a little bit too hard and it flew onto the wall, bounced off, and went right behind me into the carpet. It was tough, you know, these small little parts. I mean, it is hard to find, so make sure you don't be like me and and have it flying off in the room, because I got lucky finding this part. Alright, so that's your first C-clip. Okay, so you're gonna have a plastic gear. Then let me see. Alright, the second C-clip. Okay, alright. The other C-clip. So remove that washer and you are pretty much all set. Alright, so now we are okay in removing the worm gear shaft. Alright, so there, and see the flathead. Oh shoot, I need to flathead. Let's see. Alright, be right back. I am back with bigger flatheads. Screwdriver, loosen it. If you want. Sorry, bro. I don't remember, I got down this much. Alright. All set. So, right behind the cap, there are 2 washers in the cup. So, don't lose that. Okay, time to finesse this. So, this actually mates with the worm gear, the grooves on the worm gear. So I'll put that over here. Got grease all over it, bit yellow. Okay, so that and that and that. All right, so the last C-clip. Oh, C-clips are just the worst part of reel cleaning. So I have working really good last year. I don't know where it went. So I resort to using something new, and obviously it doesn't look good. Let's take it off. Okay, remove the shaft. Cap is now off. Perfect. So that's it. Now we get to clean everything and start fresh. Alright, we are back. So came back with a little bit of cotton swabs and cleaning wipes. Those are gonna be the best. So what I like to do is get the cotton swab into spots with a lot of old grease and oil. And just start cleaning. And this is my method, right? So it may not be the best. You know, if you guys have a different opinion or, you know, different set of tool that works for you, hey, great. Comment below. Share with everybody, you know, who watches this video and is wanting to learn how to clean your casting reel, because you know we spend, you know, I bought the reel for $300 and I want to make sure I take care of it, right? So make sure it's going to be operating at its best. But then I also want to save money because, you know, I know sometimes people can charge upwards of $20 to $30 a reel for cleaning. I mean, like, who's got that kind of money to spend, you know? I've got 10 reels in my arsenal, and that would be $300. I mean, shoot. I could buy another reel with $300. Alright, so the frame's good. Let's start putting pour some in there. So this is the first time that I used the Arden Real Cleaner. Previously, I always use just Dawn soap wash. So I'm just dropping these parts in there. Let's see. This. And then I'll have to clean the table after, just to keep everything clean. Let's see. I think that's mainly it. Just throw in the spring. And then I'll throw this into. These things are much more durable than you think. Alright. So I'm just going to see if I have to remove any of the old dry washer grease. So these are powder from the carbon dry. It's already covered in gloves. It's creating that friction rate, so the dry washers are extremely dry to keep up. Okay, so like that. Alright, so, alright, let's see, what else, guys? Oh. And remember, on the side plate, we have this. We'll drop it off, clean up the oil. Drop bearing. Okay, drop this there. Remove all that grease and grime. Okay, let me see. Use this, clean up. Okay, alright, so I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna take these parts out and then rinse it with water at the sink. So, but then I'm gonna keep the reel cleaner and then, you know, continue on cleaning the next reel and next reel, and so that way I can save a little bit of reel cleaner. Oh, and one thing, you can also try using brake cleaner, but that's a little bit aggressive for my tick. So I just ordered this Arden Real Cleaner. It basically cleans the grease and also lubricates. So, all right, I'll be right back. We are back. Basically what I did was I strained all of the parts inside the Arden Real Cleaner and then rinsed it a couple times and then wiped them dry and also cleaned out all the parts that had grease or oiled on there. So you know, really cleaning the surface, removing all of the old grease or oil off of the parts. So right now I think we're ready to kind of put the reel back together. Let's go ahead and get started. So right off the bat, we're gonna take this and drive it from one side. We're gonna drive it in, so there's a notch. Insert it from one side, and then make sure before you put the C-clip back, you loop this in to the smaller hole. Okay. And once that's done, so there's a little bit of protruding out, and this is where you can put the C-clip back. I'm actually gonna take off my glove because with these small parts, sometimes it gets a little bit challenging to put it at the right spot, you know? Okay, so now that it's in, alright, gonna go ahead and snap it in. Alright, it is in. Alright, and then I'm gonna use the general grease. Apply just a tap on to the pin, and that way there is a little bit of lubrication when this plastic line guide bracket slides back and forth on this pin. It's nice and smooth, right? It's greased up. All right, so that's good. Okay. All right. Next. So let me just go ahead and let me see the line spool. Okay, take a small dab to grab the washers and grease the washers. Now I'm gonna put it on. Let me see. So I kind of forgot how. Okay, so on the small end, you're gonna have 2 washers stacked at the end. Okay. Then I'm gonna take a little bit of grease, not much. Then you want to grease the inside of the worm gear bracket. Okay, alright, so there's a big hole, small hole. You're gonna insert it right through. Okay. A little bit of general grease. Well, let me turn that back up real quick. The washers are still in there. I'm just gonna kind of brush a little bit of the general Shimano grease on here. Make sure that there are some grease inside the crevice. Right. You know, a lot of times less is more with the grease. So apply a little bit on the outside. Just gonna rub it, you know, just to make sure that there is some on the surface. So that way, when we do put this back on, it's nice. Okay. So insert it here. Okay. Line it back up. I'm gonna go ahead and put this washer back. I'm just gonna put a small dab, pick it up, rub it, apply it. Okay. Then the C-clip on both sides are the same, so it's easy. There's no mix up between left or right, you know, make it simple. We call it poker yoke in manufacturing. Alright, so almost done. Alright, so I got the worm gear. This drives the line guide going left and right, and I'm gonna apply also a little bit of the general grease. I guess it's inevitable that my hands need to get greasy in this process, so it is what it is. Alright, I'm gonna insert it. Okay, once you press it, there are 2 washers. I'm gonna go ahead and just take a small dab, pick up the first one, insert it, pick up the second one, use the remaining grease, Right. Then now I'm going to take a dab, apply it on the inside, on the threads. Alright, and I am gonna go ahead and screw it back on. Alright, now tighten it. I'm gonna use less so that way it actually rotates. Okay, nice and snug, won't come off during the 2024 season and, you know, missing washes and all. Okay, alright, just gonna take a dab, apply this. Alright, this would actually be put inside to the ID. Alright, push it in. Okay. Alright, let's see. It is actually really challenging to have a GoPro blocking everything that you're trying to look at, and it's in the way, so I'm gonna just dab it with the general grease. So alright, so this gear actually has a smaller like a protruding end, so what you want to do is you want it to follow back up with the shaft. So there's two flats in the hole, so you want to make sure that it lines up. So once it's lined up, it pops right in. Okay, so a small dab of grease, pick the C-clip up, slide it right on. Alright, wipe my finger, long needle nose plier. Alright, it would be nice if it's not spinning. Alright, snapped in. Good. Okay, alright, your worm gear is basically done, so now test it. Alright, functions nice and smooth. Okay, let's install the front cover. Okay, there's a slot. Alright, it's in. It's in. Alright, gonna install it with the screw. I'll use the small flathead precision screwdriver. Drive it in. Alright, it's only on one side. It snaps in on the other, so there's a bare hole. Okay. Alright, so what is next? So we're gonna start greasing the entire port here. General grease. Okay, all the surfaces. Okay, I'm gonna apply a little bit into the spring. Right here in the cavity. So every time when your button engages and disengages. Okay, so it's nice and lubricated. Okay, a little bit on the shaft. A little bit on the gear, the plastic gear. Okay. run it down, light coat. Alright, what we're gonna do is get the CPI bearing oil. Okay, we're gonna get 1 drop into the bearing. Well, let's do 2. I'm okay with 2. I typically do 2. Sometimes I feel like, you know, they say don't put too much oil. That's gonna slow down the reel, but you know, 1 just feels too little. All right, so we've already put grease on the surface, so I'm not going to put any more grease. Don't want to overdo it. Okay, this one, just one's fine. All right, just spin it. Just make sure it gets it right into the cavity of the bearings and get it lubricated. All right, you can already tell some of the gloss and oil it's getting already on the outside. So, okay. All right, next. So we're gonna slide it on here. Gonna lock it down with the 2 Phillips head screws. Don't tighten it yet, so it's still nice and loose, and the other screw is going to be able to align it to the other hole. Get it nice and snug. All right. Apply a little bit of the general grease. On the plastic gear. Okay. All right, so we are pretty much almost there. So, all right, so I'm not gonna apply any grease on this reverse lock on your button. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop it right in. Make sure that it mates with the first layer of the stack, so mating with the square. So make sure that it sits flush. So once it sits flush, you push it down. It's not supposed to turn. Okay, so that's good. All right, so carbon drag washer, I'm gonna use the Ace-0 from Shimano. This one, it's a little sticky. All right. All right, it's gonna mix it up. This is the first time that I'm greasing up my reel for 2024, so it's been sitting in the garage for a little bit since the last time when I cleaned my reels in 2023. So not much. Just apply a very light coating and just spread it throughout. Okay, easy peasy. And this is the reason why I don't put grease in the first stack on the lock. So I'm gonna drop this on. Okay, so that's good. All right, let's see. Next, so this is the aluminum gear. For those of you who order the Metanium for the US version, I believe you guys get a brass gear, so that's why there's a slight difference in color. So I'm gonna drop this in. Again, I don't apply any of the grease on it yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and get a little bit more. Dab, 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 dab. Let's see. Okay, so just apply a light coat on your carbon drag washer. Not much, just a bit. Just a light coat that you can see the glossiness of the surface. Really don't need much. Alright, so that's that. Going to drop that in. Make sure it sits flush in the main gear stack. Alright, so we're almost there. So this is what you have so far. Okay, alright. So carbon drag washers are complete, okay? So the last stack, make sure a cavity, and it should always face upwards, okay? As this piece will mate with the side piece right here. So it sits in that cavity, okay? So, alright, so we're gonna do that. Make sure it aligns to the shape, and make sure that it sits flush. Otherwise you're gonna have a hard time in trying to close up the reel, the side plate of the reel. Okay. Alright. So now we're down to the pinion. Alright. So for the plastic, well actually let me do this. For the plastic piece, we're gonna be doing the general grease. Just apply it. Not much, just a light coating. Okay, so that's done. And then you're gonna wanna put that in the center of the pinion. Alright. And let me make sure that I put it in right, because there's a specific orientation. As you can tell, there is a angle at the end. So let me make sure that I'm putting it correctly, and you can test it out. There's nothing wrong with testing it out, because sometimes so whenever you click the reel, it engages and disengages the main gear. Alright, so I put it in the first try, which is good. Don't have to take it out and put it back in, take it out and put it back in. So alright, so now with all that set, the carbon drag washer grease, we are finished. And then we're gonna go down to the main gear, grease on the actual teeth of the grease. So let me try to mix it a little bit, because like that, the grease actually starts to separate and into oil, and the viscosity kind of apace. So I want to make sure that I don't just put oil on. Okay, so, and then this is the this is the DG04, or also known as the Ace-2 Okay, and what you want to do is you want to apply a even amount across the gears. Okay. Alright, so that's good. Alright, yep, just clean it up a little bit. Don't want to have too much. Let's see. Okay. Alright, so we're going to be moving into the next part. Alright, so a little too much. We're going to lubricate the springs. Just a light coat. Alright, and we're gonna put this on here. Okay, and now you're basically ready to close up your side plate. Okay. Sure everything is aligned. There should be a little bit of spring tension. Alright, so oh shit, bearing fell out, but it's okay. It's normal. Work it back in. Okay, so alright, so this is the flathead, and the flathead always goes in the inside where the spool is. Alright, nice. So you can kind of compare how long the screw and how much material there is, and get that taken care of. Easy peasy. And then last one. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be doing any edits other than cutting out or maybe fast forwarding some of the video. Alright, so there are two bearings on here. 1, 2, Okay, that's greased up. And then, alright, so we have the spool tension. I'm going to drop a very generous amount onto the sheet, okay? We want that. Okay, alright. Close this up. Alright, now we're gonna be using solely the general grease to kind of lubricate everything before we put the handle back on. Okay, first copper washer. Make sure to get it nice and fit it, and you know, flush with the bottom, otherwise, you know, sometimes it get caught with all the threads. All right, so these curve washers, make sure you stack them such that they are against each other, and I'll draw a demonstration how they are supposed to be, like that. So you see how they are curved, like, away from one another? That's what you need. Okay. Oh, actually, I need to get some grease on here. Alright, double-sided washer. It's copper on one end, plastic on the other. So apply some generous grease. Okay, so it's gonna be against. Oh, sorry. Okay. Right, and I have a square washer. Let's apply a little bit on the bottom. That's it. Then twist it down. So this is to get locked down the stack, and this is what gives you your drag tension. Alright, and that square needs to be made up with the internal square of the star track, okay? And then it also needs to match up to the flats and the flats. So if I was to do this, basically, let's see, let me do flat. Okay, seems close enough. I'm gonna try to get that washer out. There's still quite a bit of lubrication from last year, so I'm gonna clean it real quick so it can swell. Alright. This. Alright. Apply a layer of grease. Place it inside. Alright, my hands clean. Apply some general grease on the top and bottom. Place it on top of the square nut. And we should be ready. Should line up pretty good. If it doesn't line up, then you won't be able to tighten down the handle. So, alright, slide it right on. Then you can put your nut. Oops. Oh, twisted it the wrong way. Alright, drag, tightens. Okay, clicks both ways once it's tightened, and we're pretty much there. Alright, lock it back in. Alright, handle is on, nice and smooth. I'm not gonna take off the handle. I'm only going to apply a drop of oil into the bearing and the shaft of the rail handle. Alright, so there are a couple of things. So on the spool, I'm gonna go ahead and apply 1 drop of oil. That's it. A drop of oil on the surface. 1 drop onto the main shaft. I'm just going to use the metal to just kind of spread it out. All set. Put it back in. Alright, the last piece is the side plate. There are still some oil left over from last year on the surface, on the rim of the spool. So, alright. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lubricate the bearing in the middle. You can actually take it off, but I generally just leave it on there. And then I'll also apply 1 drop of oil. And I'm going to use a Q-tip and then just lubricate it all the way around. And here we have a nicely lubricated Metanium. Well, other than having the line stuck in it. Let me do this. Just cut this. Pull that out. Put the wires away. Make sure that the line doesn't get in between, otherwise it's gonna get caught, and you know, the reel's not gonna work right. Okay. Alright, put it back. Okay. Nice and smooth. Alright, where's my side plate? Still spinning. Smooth as butter. Alright, side plate. Close it up. Yeah, loosen up the tension knob. There's too much tension. Find the end of the line. Alright guys, so I got the piece of tape on the spool. Nice and smooth. Yeah, so it's not that hard. The Shimano design are all the same, from SLX, Corrado, Chronarch, the Bantam, the Aldebaran, Metania, even to your Antares, it's the same design. The only difference between all those reels are machine tolerances on the gears and everything. I didn't do so bad. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something today. And I will talk to you guys next time. Peace.